So last weekend, my wife and her mother skipped town to go down to Austin, Texas, and to compete in the O. Henry National Pun Writing Competition. And that meant that the boys and I were together here in St. Louis, and we had a whole Saturday to fill with activities. And one of those activities that we chose to do was to go to Eckert's, which is a farm that's about 40 minutes outside of the city of St. Louis in Illinois. And we went to pick strawberries because it's strawberry picking season here in the Midwest. And the boys had a hoot and a half. My elder son filled an entire basket with edible strawberries that we later turned into jam, and my youngest filled the bottom of a shoebox sized basket of strawberries. And in order to get to the fields, you do get to go on like a tractor ride, like, right on the tractor part, there's a trailer behind it. Anyway, it requires waiting in line to get back to the main farmhouse where there's like ice cream and kids stuff to do. And in the 20 minutes that we waited in line, I watched my 3.5-year-old son eat somewhere between 40 and 60 strawberries. It was the most impressive thing I have seen in a really long time. And so far, we haven't really suffered any consequences. And I suppose that is a testament to getting fresh produce right off of the plant. But if you were wondering how many strawberries you can fit into a 3.5-year-old, at least 40.
At least 40 to 60. TJ, we went live.
All right. How about it?
Welcome, friends. This is episode 157. We are joined tonight with another Austin, not from last week, but this is Austin Handel of the Maker Camp. And TJ is going to run through our sponsors real quick, and then we are going to talk to Austin about all things Maker Camp.
Awesome. First sponsor every week is Surf Prep Sanding Systems. Hannah and the team over there have been with us for a long time, and we are grateful for all of their support. Not to mention that they show up to the Maker Camp over in the Highland Woodworking tent, which is always pleasant. So if you want to get your hands on some surf prep gear, the likes of which we speak about every week, maybe pay a little bit closer attention to this episode so that you can figure out how you can get to Maker Camp and get your hands on it if you're not proximal to surf prep. But let's say you can't wait for Maker Camp. Let's say you got to have it now. You can use coupon code Sawdust Talk at surfprep.com to save a little bit of money on your order and get that gear in your hands pronto. The next people that we want to talk about is Makers for St. Jude. We are now at least a week into the spring/early summer. Let's not call it a contest. We'll call it an activity drive, which is sort of an event that Makers for St. Jude holds twice a year. There's a spring event and there is a fall event. And if during this next 2 months you put together a raffle and raffle off one of your wares, the proceeds of those raffle ticket sales going straight to St. Jude, you will be entered in drawings for lavish prizes and unlimited glory amongst makers. If you want to figure out how to get involved, you want to learn more about it, talk to me, talk to Jessie, talk to Mike over at Woodworker versus Cancer or Makers for St. Jude on Instagram. Send direct messages, get involved, get awesome, and let the cool things you make do cool things for people who need your help. We also need to tell you guys that if you want Sawdust Talk merchandise, like a lusciously soft Sawdust Talk raglan sleeved baseball shirt for your athletic and woodworking crossing interests, you need to go to kcbombshell.com and pick one up there. And then finally, we have a Patreon for this show. We grow ever closer to a free tier of Patreon so that we can get the goods to you before everyone else. It's Patreon/Sawdust Talking for as little as $5 a month, which is less than, is that less than a Big Mac at this point? Anybody know? I haven't bought a Big Mac in a while, but yeah, I think $5 is less than a Big Mac, cheaper than a burger. You could be supporting Jessie and I to make it out to these meetings, get some accommodations, and maybe get Jessie faster internet or a better camera, or both. Fingers crossed. And that's Patreon/Sawdust Talk.
Love you. Thank you. Austin, welcome to Sawdust Talk, and we're so appreciate you coming on. And we know it's a little bit later on the East Coast than it is where we are, so we appreciate your time. Do you want to tell our guests a little bit about you and how you got into this mess of the maker community?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I've gotten to doing Maker Camp. I guess it was seven. It was we're going into year number seven now. So it was 2019. I had I guess it starts a little bit before that. My family owns the Blackthorn Resort where we hold Maker Camp, and we also used to own Jimmy DeResta's old go-kart track. So I used to run the go-kart track, and in 2018 the summer of 2018 there was a car accident out front, and they hit the telephone pole, and the power went out. So I had to bring all of our ice cream from our ice cream parlor over to the resort so it wouldn't all melt. I finally finished. It was probably like 10 trips back and forth. There's a lot of ice cream, and finally sit down for a minute and take a chill pill. And I see this guy in cut off jean shorts and a t-shirt walking from across the way. And he walks into the snack bar, reaches into the soda machine and grabs a soda. And I was kind of shocked because obviously I'd seen Jimmy DeResta before. I'd heard of him. I had just gotten into blacksmithing a couple years before that, so I'd obviously seen a bunch of his videos. And somebody had told me that there was this famous YouTuber that lived in town, but they didn't know his name or anything. And it turned out it was Jimmy DeResta, and it turned out his shop was literally right across the road from my family's business. And we kind of just became fast friends. And I told him about this kind of cockamamie idea I had in college about getting a bunch of cool Instagram makers together, and he kind of just helped me run with it, and he connected me with the right people. And the first year would not have happened at all without that, and it's kind of just turned into what it is now over time.
So you were saying before the show though, you don't have your own Instagram. You don't do the whole social media stuff, and you got paired up with the polar opposite of yourself, Mr. Jimmy DeResta, the godfather of the maker community. So clearly people know who you are, but I mean, you have people coming from all over the United States, Canada, and further to come to Maker Camp now.
Yeah. I never thought it would be what it is today. Last year we had 1,100 people. I met a guy from Australia. I met a guy from South Africa. Our friend Takashi was from Temple Tools was here from Japan. It was it's turned into something much bigger than I had initially planned. I've always been passionate about bringing tourism into my town of East Durham. I'd always heard stories of the 50s, the 60s, and 70s when tourism in upstate New York was booming, and I've always dreamed of kind of bringing that back. So this was kind of my first foray into doing special events. Obviously, I grew up in the resort industry, so I've been around it. But Maker Camp the first year was 100 people. We had I think 2 tents set up. That we had epoxy next to the blacksmiths. We had it was just a total mess. And with the way this community is, the right people got connected with me and helped me out. And now it's every year I feel like it's getting easier for me to do, and we're getting better at doing it. So just hope we can keep on doing that.
Yeah, last year was my first Maker Camp, and I thought I knew what it was going to be like, and I truly had no idea of the scope and the scale of things. Now you're better at remembering these kinds of statistics, but I think there's 17 different hubs and tents or something like that, or at least that were set up last year.
That sounds probably about right.
Something like that, maybe 20. I don't know. There was just
lots of moving parts.
Everything. And I mean, you can also you throw food trucks and the flea market in there, and then there's a couple of remote builders doing gondolas and doing construction on site.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot going on, and you
Absolutely.
are the relay person who somehow manages to just point and then say, do it over here.
Yes, sort of. Pretty well, yeah, pretty much. I plan Maker Camp. I have these giant notepads. They're like, I don't know, maybe 2 feet by 3 feet, and I have a 4x8 table in the maker space that I have these things spread out on. And I probably have about 5 of them. Every single one is full of, just notes, and that's kind of what the inside of my head looks like during Maker Camp. So afterwards, it's definitely a relief, but there's also like this kind of like, oh crap, what do I think about now?
Yeah. So do you get to like take November and December off from thinking about it, or is
Not
it
at all.
just immediately you go straight into next year, kind of like the Nightmare Before Christmas, right?
Yeah,
364 days till Maker Camp.
Pretty much. Fortunately, our business has gotten busier and later on in the season. It used to be the season would pretty much end shortly after Labor Day. We would have a couple big events in September, but then that was it. Now with Maker Camp, and we have a couple other events, our resort season doesn't stop until the first weekend of November usually. So
wow.
After November, we get a little bit of a breather.
So
That's nice. You need that.
We talk at length about Maker Camp because Jessie and I are both huge fans. I think it is the premier meetup for craftspeople and makers that I know of. And a lot of it just comes from the abundance of gear and equipment that gets dragged in so that everybody can play with their internet friends and be dorks about things that we're all excited about that are all hands-on. But you mentioned, and I don't check the calendar nearly frequently enough, but you guys host a bunch of other events that are not Maker Camp. Do you want to talk about some of that stuff?
Yeah. So, are you talking about our other maker events, or are you talking about just all of the things we do?
Well, I mean, I know that the Mountain Resort doubles as a concert venue frequently, right?
Yep. So, the resort campground event center. We aside from all of the different Maker Camp events that we do, we have a huge motorcycle rally every year. We normally have around 10,000 people there throughout the weekend for that.
Wow.
We've done tons of concerts. We do everything from metal detecting weekends to steampunk weekends to giant car shows. We do the Rat's Nest Run-In, which is a pretty big rat rod show in August. We all kinds of different motorcycle runs and family reunions, and we're every week of the summer there's pretty much something else going on at the resort. This year we're starting a new event affiliated with Maker Camp called Field of Tools, and it's going to be we're going to be a kind of like an antique tool swap meet and show where we're going to have displays of rare vintage woodworking tools, blacksmithing tools, machining tools. We're going to have Jimmy's going to do tours of his shop. We're going to have a shuttle bus going back and forth to Jimmy's shop. He's going to do tours. We'll have the restoration station there so people can restore tools that they buy at the swap meet. We're still working out all the details of it, but I think it's going to be a lot like the first Maker Camp, where it's going to be kind of eclectic. Nobody really knows exactly what's going on, but it's going to be a really, really good time, and people are going to be sorry they missed the first one.
Okay, but it's not fair because you guys are so far away. Like, I would love to go to New York more often. I see Jimmy's race
That's
day
a fun
that
one.
he does. And it's right before Maker Camp, and it's I can't spend 2 weeks in New York. It just doesn't make sense. So
if I had more blackthorns around the country, I'd do them all over the place, but
heck yeah,
I can't
maybe
think of
that's
anywhere else I could pull it off.
Next idea. I'm telling you, do it.
Oh my God. 2 Maker Camps a year in 2 different places. My brain would explode.
My brain would explode.
That's possible. I mean, I'm sure doing the logistics for one is nuts. Two would be wild. You'd have to hire
It's
staff.
easier for me because like I grew up a Blackthorn, so I know everything that we can do. I know everything that we can't. It works out well. I couldn't imagine trying to plan this at somebody else's place. Worst case scenario, I piss off my parents here, but yeah, I think I get in a lot of trouble doing this at other venues.
Totally. You mentioned maybe in pre-show or during the show about an event you guys just had called a Hammer In.
Yes. So the Hammer In is it's a free event. We just put on people to come and hang out. It's basically just a blacksmithing open house. We've acquired quite the arsenal of blacksmithing tools throughout the years, just from yard sales and from sponsor donations and things like that. So it's just an event to kind of, we put all the stuff out. I supply a bunch of steel. We have snacks, and just come and hang out and make stuff for the weekend. So yeah, that was this past weekend. There were probably about 30 people that came out. A lot of people that had pretty much never touched hot steel before that wanted to learn. So that was really cool to see. But it was just a great atmosphere the whole time. Just people hanging out and having a good time.
That's awesome.
Okay. Before we go too far, I did bring my daughter to Maker Camp this last year.
I remember seeing her running around. Yep.
Playing Hammerschlagen probably most of the time. But you have incorporated some more child-friendly stuff and the little passport thing and all that. I think that was really, really smart, and I think you did a really good job with that. But talk about how maybe integrating like the teaching aspect into the younger generation and how you want that to look for Maker Camp.
First of all, I want to give total credit to Matthew Serio for doing up the passports. He wanted to help out, and I right when we decided we were going to do the kids class things, I knew that he was the right man for the job, and he did a really good job with the passport. So that's on Matt Serio. I can't take too much credit for that. As far as the kids classes, I want to find a nice happy medium. There's a lot. I want kids to be able to do absolutely everything at Maker Camp, but there's age brackets of what you should be encouraging a kid to try, and so it's riding a fine line, finding the right age cutoffs for the right disciplines, and I basically just want to keep things fun enough where the kids want to try absolutely everything, but I want to keep them safe enough where we're not opening ourselves up to somebody getting hurt or getting in over their head. So it's like I said, riding a fine line, but I think we did a pretty good job of it this year. I took some advice and did some ticketing changes. So now we have a special ticket price just for the kids. Yeah, every year, I'm 29 years old. I didn't start off knowing what I was doing. So every year I'm learning and figuring out a better way to go about it. So this year, hopefully the kids program will go even a little bit better, and I'll take critiques this year, and next year it'll be even better than that. So
yeah, I do appreciate that aspect of it, because I mean, as makers, tons of us have kids that want to be a part of making, and doing that safely is really, really important. But I was talking to a brand that is at Maker Camp, and what they told me about the whole kids at Maker Camp is exactly what you're saying, is having parents maybe judge not having it be like a whole family trip, but maybe a age appropriate child that is wanting to learn those skills. So it's not like a free for all and like family vacation, but everyone that's there wants to be there and wants to learn.
Exactly.
Or
it's definitely something that
I'd go.
It's definitely something that I want to put more focus on. It wasn't my intent to start with Maker Camp, but after not last year, but the year before that, when I first started seeing kids presents at Maker Camp, it kind of sparked a little there's definitely a much greater good to come out of this than a bunch of us just getting together to hang out and make some things throughout the weekend. Every kid that goes to Maker Camp is one less kid that's playing on a tablet or getting in trouble somewhere. It's just it's definitely a it's a feel good thing. It's really cool to see the younger generation getting into this kind of thing that's been dying off for a while.
Like, yeah.
So, do you know of any new events that we may not have seen before that you can tell us about that we can look forward to in 2025?
For Maker Camp, so I'm working on. I've got a couple new demonstrators coming to kind of expand the tent a little bit. We have I'm not gonna go saying any names yet. We're gonna be doing official announcements, but we have a new lapidary artist that'll be teaching lapidary in the jewelry making tent. So taking raw gemstones and turning them into what are called cabochons, which are like the stone.
Cool.
We have I'm working on a stone carver to do a collaborative demonstration with the stone cutter that we had last year, Matthew. Eventually, Matthew plans on having enough stone where we can build some sort of, maybe a small retaining wall or some kind of a feature to incorporate with the blackthorn itself. We'll be doing something a little bit different with the timber frame this year. In past years, we've always built the timber frame, at its final resting spot, and it's kind of taken it out of the field. It's a little bit of a hike to get to. This year, we're going to be building 2 Adirondack style lean-tos, and we're going to set up an area in the field where they'll be able to build them right there live in front of everybody. People can definitely more accessible for people walking around. I'm working on some new stuff for the fabrics tent. If anybody knows anybody interested, I'm looking for a tie dyer. I'd love to incorporate some tie dye into Maker Camp. I think that would be a really cool kids activity to get into.
That'd be super cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Tons of stuff going on. Not that much stuff that's completely locked in that I'm comfortable enough saying on a podcast. But there's a lot of stuff brewing that I think it's definitely gonna make for the best Maker Camp yet, weather permitting.
Hey, even if it's fun can be had in the muck, man. Like,
sure can. You missed 2023, so you don't even know.
Yeah, no, I've heard stories and fables about how delightfully wet 2023 was.
The Great Flood.
Yep.
I want to talk a little bit about powering Maker Camp, and this may not be your forte, but it just seems like there exists some nuclear sort of energy generation device that's capable of running really impressive tools for an entire weekend. Do you guys rent like a diesel generator that backs up baseball stadiums, or
Nope.
how does this work?
Lots of hamsters.
Okay, perfect.
No, so that whole event field where we do Maker Camp, we've been doing our motorcycle festival for almost 30 years now. And like Maker Camp, it started off small, but every year it started to grow and grow and grow. So every year we would kind of add infrastructure to help with that event. So it was kind of just the perfect storm when I started doing Maker Camp. We have a field that has, you can walk 50 feet in any direction and there's probably an access panel on the ground for you to get power out of. Our whole campground is, there's power all over the place just because of, some of the bigger events that we've had to do before, and it kind of works out perfect for doing something like Maker Camp.
Yeah, it's so wild, man. You guys have, 10 welders running at the same time, 8 feet
Only six.
Oh, only. Only.
I mean, you do have like a hookup with like a pretty cool electrician too. That's pretty awesome.
I do.
People around that area, and
I do. I've made the perfect friends for what we do at Maker Camp. Well, Maker Camp kind of evolved because of the friends I made, I should say.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What else? I think we should kind of pivot from Maker Camp and talk about your making stuff, because you don't just run Maker Camp, you are a maker too, and some people may not know that about you. So tell the people what you do.
I am a maker. So I like to do a little bit of everything. Doing Maker Camp, I've kind of gotten a lot of tools donated, in different disciplines. So I do a little bit of silversmithing. I do a little bit of woodworking. By no means would I consider myself a woodworker. I do quite a bit of leatherworking, but my main interest is in metal. I like blacksmithing and bladesmithing and fabricating and that kind of stuff. But I'm kind of just a maker of necessity. You know, when there's something that I want, I'll make it. Or if there's at Christmas time, I don't really buy a lot of gifts. If anything, I'll buy myself tools to make people gifts. So yeah, just utilitarian stuff. I'm not really too artsy with anything I do. I just try to make things that look nice and function well.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. I think that's how a lot of us get into this community, is just sometimes you want to buy stuff and you can't.
Yeah.
So you think to yourself, you know what? I'm going to make that thing. And that's how I ended up with a half pipe in middle school. Because, buying one wasn't really an option. I couldn't work. But, you cut a lot of grass. You can make yourself a half pipe in pieces.
Sure can. That's how I built mine.
Yeah, see? That's how we get into it.
Yep.
Or you're like Austin over here, where you don't get into the maker community on Instagram, except by making things and meeting a very famous influencer.
Oddly enough,
neighbor.
before I started Maker Camp and before I met Jimmy, like I had followed a few makers on Instagram, like Liam Hoffman and Jessie Savage Blacksmith, but I didn't realize that like there was already like an interconnected network of, like, I didn't realize that there was an actual maker community. So it was kind of like the floodgates opening when I realized that there's all these people that like I've wanted to meet do this frequently. Like they go out and they go hang out with makers. So it's very, very cool. But yeah, I've never really been too big on social media. I still have my personal account from high school, but like I think the last time I posted on there was a couple of years ago. I like being behind the scenes and making sure things run smooth from there.
Yeah. You can only say so much behind the scenes though when you run an event like Maker Camp and everybody loves it and wants to know who you are.
Well,
you can only stay in the shadows for so long.
Yeah. No, I think that, for one, the community loves being able to get together and see each other, right? Like the meetup aspect of it is awesome, right? Then you have the number of, well, I don't know if we want to use the word celebrity, but sure, it's the least number of syllables, heavy hitters from the community that also love going to this event, right? And so you've got that whole like, holy crap, is that right part of Maker Camp that's really magical, because you can then just walk over and realize that they're humans and they want to give you a high five back, right? And that's cool. And then there's sort of like the technical, let's actually do this crazy thing, right? Yeah. Like we've talked about Smelt Team 6 a couple of times this hour because I've just mentally latched onto it, but not a lot of opportunities for smelting in my circles of people that I hang out with. But I found it captivating, and that squad just is relentless in their pursuit.
They're passionate.
Which is just amazing. And then in the Highland tent, which is where I spent a fair amount of time last year, there is the tool restoring station.
The restoration station.
That is the restoration station. So are these the same people who are going to be spearheading the Field of Tools event?
Yep.
Okay.
So Rob from the restoration station is going to be recruiting a couple of dedicated restorers, and it'll be a little bit different than the Maker Camp just as far as the size goes, but same concept. Find a rusty tool, bring it in, fix it up, and learn how to use it.
That's so awesome. And I don't know enough. We got to get Rob on the show about the process of procuring these totes upon totes, piles of these hand tools. I don't know. I saw a handful of people walking away with restored bitten braces and just like all kinds of really fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea how he acquires that stuff?
Yard sales, flea markets,
Oh, it's awesome.
Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, I suppose.
Rob's like me. I see him quite a bit, and he's always on Marketplace looking for deals, and they definitely put in quite a bit of work to that restoration station, just finding the tools, let alone spending all the time to help people restore them. They do a really incredible job there.
That's so cool. Okay, so we know about your passions, your hobbies, and your annual projects that you work on with Catskill Resort. If you could adapt a new talent or a new maker skill, I mean, you're exposed to a whole lot of really neat stuff. What is one that you think you would jump on next?
I think I'd want to say wood turning.
We can help you with that.
I know you're the guy. Pat also. I have a beautiful Harvey lathe that I have no idea that lathe for Maker Camp was that's the Maker Camp lathe now. So I have access to a lathe that's way too nice for me. It's a matter of how much time I have to get into learning a new skill when I barely have time to do my old skills. But I definitely think I'm definitely interested in wood turning. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have access to woods, right? And
I do.
And are full of trees. And whoever does the chainsaw milling at that event seems to be able to drag very large trees out of your woods. Or I don't know if you guys work with like a lot clearing company or something to get that delivered. In my mind, somebody just wraps a chain around it and drives away with it and then just
That's pretty much what happened. It's our friend Jerry.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think Jerry's got a backhoe and he just shows up with logs. Is that how this works?
More or less. Jerry's just if you need something, Jerry's got it. You need a bunch of logs, Jerry's got it.
Jerry's got a bunch of logs. Good to know.
So here we know about you is that when you are in the midst of Maker Camp weekend, you are like all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Most people can't pin you down. So what I would suggest is that TJ and I know a couple people who are pretty big into cosplay. So we could get you a disguise and then we could steal you and take you to the turning tent and TJ could teach you how to turn and nobody would even know that it's you. I
think that's actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah, we'll throw a Mexican wrestling mask on you. People will be like, oh man, there's a luchador working the lathe.
Well,
all of our fantasies are happening at once. This is perfect. Yeah. No, we'll get you a hat and glasses.
So we can steal you and be like, no, Austin's busy right now.
That's not Austin.
And I don't know.
That's Rey Mysterio.
What I would do, I would probably have you met Lindsay? The Maker Camp Lindsay? I would tell Lindsay, I need you to deflect people for a half hour, 45 minutes.
She would.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll make a magic wand. It'll be beautiful. Perfect. It'll be like Swayze and Demi Moore in Ghost. We'll get a Bluetooth speaker out. It's gonna be fun.
Perfect. So by the end of next Maker Camp, I'm gonna know how to turn.
If you've got the time.
I mean, between me and Lindsay and Steph from Wall Control, Stephanie.
Yep, she would help.
Cosplay girl. So she can help make a disguise for you. And then Lindsay can bring the banana suits and we'll just cause a scene over yonder and you will have some space and some time.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, until I start getting calls, there's a woman in a banana suit wreaking havoc over in the pavilion area. We need you to get here quick.
Right. But being able to respond with perfect and then going back to woodworking that's pretty hot stuff right there. Like, we can indulge those kinds of fantasies for you. That's good.
Why do I feel like I'm gonna be like Cowboy's worst nightmare?
Look, all
Cowboy doesn't have nightmares.
Is Jessie, I've got a gorilla costume and a banana costume. A scene can be constructed.
Oh, and the dinosaur costume too.
This is true.
This is gonna be so good.
There's a lot of costumes at Maker Camp.
There was.
Yeah.
The dinosaur wasn't the first time though.
No, the dinosaur's been there for a while.
Yeah. I love her. She's wonderful. How did Cowboy come about? Because I don't remember him from previous years. So
you guys want the cowboy origin story?
Do
Yes,
I?
All
Yes,
right,
please.
so the story goes back quite a ways. I was probably I met Cowboy, we'll say, when I was I'd say like 17. He had a few too many to drink at the Blackthorn bar. He grew up right up the road. He had a few too much to drink and needed to get home, so I offered him a ride. That was that. Now, fast forward 4 years, it was my 21st birthday, and I was going to school up in Albany, New York, which is just 45 minutes from Maker Camp to Blackthorn. And we wanted to go to this place, Washington Tavern, because they give you a free bottle of champagne on your birthday. It's like, that's where I want to go. So we're walking up to the bar, and the line is like a half mile long. But at the door, I see a 7-foot tall cowboy, the silhouette of a 7-foot tall cowboy. And I say to my friends, guys, I think I might know that guy. So I walked up to him. His name is Sean. I said, Sean, please tell me you remember me. I'm Austin from Blackthorn. I gave you a ride home that one time. He goes, yeah, I remember you. I said, is there any chance that you'll let me and my friends get in the bar? You know, maybe you'll let us cut the line. He goes, yeah, go get him. So I went back to the back of the line, let us in. That was that. Cowboy's a great guy. Fast forward another year after that, it was the summer of COVID. The summer after COVID, and things around the Blackthorn were starting to get a little rowdier than me and my cousin wanted to deal with on a daily basis. And I knew that most of the bars in Albany still had not gotten started back up. So I reached out to Cowboy and said, hey, you looking for work? And he's been with us ever since.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, that's the Cowboy origin story. He wasn't always a cowboy, though. He just started that the summer. He started that he started that shortly before I saw him in Albany. He was just a normal tall person when I first met him as a kid, but he evolved over time.
A normal tall person. So now I want to like find old pictures of Cowboy. They gotta exist somewhere. Like, was he like slicked back hair? Like,
no. The way he is now is the way you want to see him. You know,
Before he was horrifying.
I feel like you'd be
now he's
by old school cowboy, because he wasn't a cowboy. He was just like a tall doofy guy. You know, the cowboy hat and the duster really like it tied everything in, and he's.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful position of authority.
He's a bit of like a local landmark. We actually it's not uncommon for like bachelorette parties to take a picture with the Blackthorn cowboy on their scavenger hunts and whatnot. Like there's a whole profile of just pictures of Cowboy with people that want to take pictures with him. He's
oh my gosh, I love that. That's
the kind of person you only find at the Blackthorn.
I wouldn't say only at the Blackthorn.
Well, I guess not, because I met him in Albany, but.
I feel like he could take that so far.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
We got to get him into social media, because if he was on like TikTok, Instagram, he wouldn't need a job at the Blackthorn. I mean,
oh, come on.
Don't tell him I said that.
My cowboy.
I won't take your cowboy. I'm just saying he could create content there and make even more money. That's what I'm saying.
He could. He actually does have a TikTok, so.
Does he?
That brings me so much joy.
I'm so happy.
I'm not going to tell you what it is, though. It's up to you to find it.
I will find it.
Oh, she will. This is wonderful. Oh, we have a quest. Oh, that's so great. Okay, so we are kind of on the back half of the show. I wanted to ask you if you had any especially hot tips for making sure as an attendee you are maximizing your Maker Camp experience. What would you think that people should be doing for sure?
Talk to everybody. If you see somebody you haven't talked to yet, go try to talk to them. That's my best advice. It's a lot of introverts that have come. Maker Camp is full of introverts that come to Maker Camp to be extroverts. and it's super cool.
I'll add to that though. If you don't feel comfortable walking up to somebody, there's somebody that will introduce you to that person. Like you should never feel in the maker community like you can't go talk to whoever you want, even if it's Jimmy DiResta,
especially if it's
Cowboy.
Jimmy DiResta.
But just find somebody and be like, I
Mhm.
want to talk to that guy. Find Craig.
Yeah.
Craig will introduce you to anybody.
Craig will introduce you to people he doesn't know.
That's
This is
awesome.
true.
That's a real superpower.
We love Craig.
Have you met Craig?
And yeah, definitely talk to Jimmy DiResta. Everybody who is entering the maker community should talk to Jimmy DiResta.
Yes, absolutely.
Jimmy and I actually have a road trip planned for at the end of the month. We're going out to Weaver Leather, their retail store in Ohio. They're doing a big anniversary sale. They're calling it the Leather Maker event. We're kind of a co-branded Maker Camp Weaver Leather, and it's just a leather focused maker camp that they're doing. So we're going to be going out there. Jimmy's going to be demoing some pewter casting with some leather accessorizing, and I'm going to be just going out enjoying that I'm not the one running a maker event.
Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Nice. Yeah, Ohio is not as close to New York as I thought it was, or it looks on the map.
No, it's like 10 hours.
Yeah, no, I learned that. I learned that because I drove from St. Louis to Maker Camp last year. I'll be doing it again this year too.
Yeah, right on.
But yeah,
Maybe
I think
with
this
an
year.
RV.
No, this year I think I'm taking the southern route, and I might be stopping by to pick up a mutual friend of ours and recent guest on the show. I still have to butter him up, but it's possible. There's going to be
an RV.
I will work on doing that, but it needs like $7,000 of tires. So
dang it.
We shall see. But yeah, if I managed to get a side-by-side or in a small electric powered vehicle that would be able to navigate Maker Camp, is there people who would stop me from operating it? See, this is why we ask questions.
It's not you, it's me. We have Blackthorn. We've got like 420 permanent campsites there. They all have their own golf carts, and every single one they need to have insurance, and they got to have it's a whole hullabaloo. We just can't really take the risk anymore. You know, it used to be kind of like the Wild West with it, but we've had incidences in the past, and we kind of have to be strict on the side-by-sides and electric vehicles. We don't even want one wheels at Maker Camp.
Okay, follow-up question. What about human-powered vehicles?
About like a bicycle?
Sure.
I want to say yes, but I don't think I trust you.
That's okay. I wouldn't either. Duly noted. Often said I could. No.
This is where he's in trouble with mom and dad.
Yeah.
TJ, no.
I don't want Austin to get in trouble with mom and dad.
Good thing is I can't get fired, but
okay. Okay. I'm trying to figure out. Let's see here. Okay, so are the yurt dudes going to be coming back again, to your knowledge?
The yurts will not be returning to Maker Camp this year.
Alas.
What
about the gentlemen who set up the yurts as rentable shelter scenarios?
It'll be a yurtless year at the Maker Camp.
Did you tell Logan and Ryan?
I have not. This is actually a recent development. The fella messaged me the other day and said they would not be able to attend.
Okay,
so
well, I'm gonna have to tell your yurt rental people that they're not coming back. So
I am trying to find some glamping alternatives. So stay tuned for that. But yes, for this year, the yurts are going to be.
Okay, so we rent bouncy houses with a roof.
I honestly don't know why more people haven't done that.
Okay. And then, well, how do you keep the bugs out of the side? There's got to be bouncy houses with solid walls too, right?
Well, in October, it's usually cold enough where there's no bugs out.
Yeah, we'll just bivvy. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Do you really want to sleep in a bouncy house and have a fan running all night? Like,
again, that's a white
You're
noise machine
sleeping
where I
100
come
feet
from.
away from a bunch of blacksmiths hammering on anvils. I don't think the
Yeah,
fan's
that's
going to be.
Right.
touche.
And again, the bottom of the bouncy house is one giant squishy marshmallow. There's not a lot of things that would be stopping me from indulging in this.
Oh, Lord.
You remember that time me and Jeff and Double K all three shared a bouncy house?
This is true. This is true. I think now would be a good time for Austin to announce that we have something special to offer our listeners.
This is true.
We're going to be giving away one silver pass to a lucky Sawdust Talk listener.
And we will get details for that very shortly.
But that is a lovely gift for you to be donating, and I am excited to be a part of getting that giveaway put together also. This is going to be awesome. And that also means that a listener of Sawdust Talk will have an opportunity to high-five Jessie and I yet again. An opportunity not to be missed. Oh. And if we can find Austin, or if you think you can outsmart his costume, when you happen to see a strange man in very thick glasses and a mustache that's obviously adhesive, you could give him a high five too.
I will reciprocate.
That is
TBD.
awesome.
TBD on the disguise.
Okay,
yeah, we can't discuss it too much on the air. If it's going to be a real disguise, we got to keep it kind of under wraps.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to cover, or something that perhaps people wouldn't have known that you want to spill the tea on?
Yeah, we touched on Field of Tools. That's kind of the biggest new thing going on. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be another really great year. We're going to have a lot of the same old faces, a lot of new faces. And don't miss it.
Yeah, we may have to have a midsummer check-in with you just to remind everybody how cool Maker Camp is and keep the pumpitude going.
Let's do it.
Oh, we're not going to stop talking about Maker Camp.
No, it's a year-long thing for us.
Thing.
It is just wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, so we need to do one more quick lap through the sponsors. The first of which is Surf Prep Sanding Systems. I was in a high-end retail woodworking shop whose name rhymes with Schmudcraft. And I got into a conversation about high-end round abrasives with dust collection. And I was like, look, the ones that they have here are pretty swell. But let me tell you, not only does Surf Prep make sanders and dust collectors, but they also make abrasives. And they are affordable and they are wonderful. And if you're going to go try them out, you can use coupon code Sawdust Talk to save some money on those also. So in your face, green and beige / gray German tool company that charges a lot for your abrasives. Not naming names or anything. Also, let's talk about Makers for St. Jude one more time. We are doing our spring fling, which is let's raise money to fight childhood cancer, make cool stuff, auction your cool stuff, give money to charity, give your cool stuff to a member of the maker community or of your family or whoever ends up winning the raffle, right? They don't have to be makers to enter or donate. Get tax receipts, donate for an awesome cause. If you want to get involved with Makers for St. Jude, get a hold of me, get a hold of Jessie, get a hold of Mike. Heck, you can get a hold of Hanover at Surf Prep if you think you can slide into those DMs somehow. Like, get involved, get awesome, and let's make a difference. We've got Sawdust Talk merch at kcbombshell.com, and there's a Patreon. There's a Patreon, and we want you to be a part of Patreon. I mean, not because we're raking in money through Patreon, but Jessie really needs a new camera. I'm looking at you, listener, viewer. Stop by Patreon. Jessie really needs a new camera. All right. That brings us to the final question of the night, Austin. And that is every week we ask our guests to come up with like a motivational thought or a quote or a reason to kick open the door to their workshop and make a mess, or just pick up a tool maybe for the first time or for the 5,000th time. What would you like to share with the class?
Oh boy, I know you told me you were going to ask me this question, but I would say just stick to your guns. If you have an idea, see it through, because it could turn into something really cool like Maker Camp.
I love
So,
it.
That's perfect.
That actually is perfect.
Yeah.
that was off the top. I didn't even write that down.
No, that's perfect. Chase a dream.
You did
Have
awesome.
a dream. Get awesome.
Get awesome.
Well, Austin, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been episode 157 of Sawdust Talk, and TJ is going to take us out.
All right, cool kids. We will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.